A reading from the book of Ephesians. Christians are instructed to put on the whole armor of God in order to defend themselves from the powers of evil, which are beyond any human control. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his power. Put on the whole armor of God so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, so that you may be able to withstand on that evil day, and having done everything, to stand firm. Stand therefore, and fasten the belt of truth around your waist, and put on the breastplate of righteousness. As shoes for your feet, put on whatever will make you ready to proclaim the gospel of peace. With all of these, take the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Pray in the Spirit at all times, in every prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert and always persevere in supplication for all the saints. Pray also for me, so that when I speak, a message may be given to me to make known with boldness the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it boldly as I must speak. The word of the Lord.
Good morning. Greetings from Lutheran services in Iowa. It really, truly is an honor to be here today, and thank you for welcoming me into your congregation and for making time to hear about Lutheran services in Iowa. My name is Deb Whitford, and I'm the Director of Philanthropy and Church Relations for LSI. My job is to travel the state of Iowa, sharing what we do with all that we meet, and hopefully raising money to provide those services. I'd like to take a minute and show you a video that we created last year for our 150th anniversary. It talks a little bit about then and a lot about now. And if you would, pay special attention to the very last person that you see on this video. His name is Scott, and he's holding up a diploma. I'm going to tell you a story about him soon, but enjoy the video.
The faces have changed. The buildings have changed. The tools we use have changed. The names have changed. The clothes and hairstyles have changed. The farmland and technology have changed. The schools have changed. Yet, for 150 years, our mission hasn't changed. Lutheran Services in Iowa has been called to care. Starting in 1864, with a home for Civil War orphans in Andrew, Iowa, our services have grown to support tens of thousands of Iowans in need. Over time, the need for such orphanages diminished. Modern social work and child welfare best practices developed. Human service agencies shifted their focus toward keeping families together and community-based supports. We are proud that LSI's story begins with such bold dreams. Their concern for the children of their time inspires us as we work to strengthen the communities of our time. And we're proud to celebrate 150 years of compassionate service. We could never have done it without you.
I'm thankful for LSI because in the time of need, they're there. When no one else is there, they're there.
I'm thankful for respite and living out in the community, and I hang out with really cool friends.
I'm very happy and I'm very pleased that this program helps me how to fill out application and how to search jobs.
When I'm yelling at someone or I'm frustrated, the staff are just like, okay, we're all in the same room, you can kind of calm down now. We're here to talk it out with you. And it just makes you realize and think about it sometimes that, was it worth yelling about? Was it worth arguing or frustrating yourself over it?
Knowing that I have more of a sense of direction, I'm able to know where I want to go, what I want to do, where my mind frame needs to be. I'm not down, hurting anymore. I'm able to stand strong for my kids and myself.
Being in a place like this, I've just been going to school every day, getting as much done as I can. I've been getting all A's, if not above that.
I thankful again for our LSI to continue to take this opportunity for farming, for the classes that they provide here, and that I hope it will help our community good.
With using LSI, we've all sort of learned that we need to talk things through. And it's been, I can talk to my boys about anything, which is a great thing at this point.
They show me that you can do it. It's not as hard as you think.
For 150 years, we've turned stories of hurt into stories of hope. And for 150 years, you've helped people celebrate the moments that matter the most.
So what started 150 years ago as a safe haven for Civil War veterans has grown to be one of the largest social service agencies across the state of Iowa. LSI employs about 1,200 employees across the state, and we have 28 offices. Some are located in church buildings, some are located in freestanding offices like mine in the Davenport area. We have 2 residential centers. One is in Beloit, which is in Ames, and one is in Waverly, which is called Bremwood. We literally serve tens of thousands of Iowans each and every year. LSI is an affiliate of the ELCA, an organization that supports us both financially and through its prayers. There is a program that we get some of our funding from the state and federal governments. So much of our funding is grant-based, but there is a big gap in what those grants pay for and what the cost of services are every single year. That gap is about $3 million, and that's what our organization, or my group within LSI, helps to raise. As we said earlier, this church gave very generously through a grant that ended in 2008 to the tune of $17,000 to our Beloit campus. That was one of the biggest gifts that group had for that campaign. And I can't thank you enough for your generosity. What you did was literally helped hundreds of kids that were in need and continue to help them every single day today. You've helped kids that have been mistreated, kids that have been abused, kids that have a mental disability, and kids that have some sort of physical disability as well. You have allowed us to carry out our mission, which is to give service and love through Jesus Christ. Do you know that in 2014, there were 1,831 abuse cases reported in this very county? 54% of them were of kids that were under the age of 5. This county of Lynn County has had the largest number of kids in our residential center in Waverly than from any other county in the state of Iowa. The best way that I know to tell you about what we do is to tell you the stories from some of the people that we serve. Mason is one of those kids. At age 8, Mason was diagnosed with autism. Mason didn't know how to handle his feelings, and whenever he felt anything at all, the only thing that Mason knew to do was to hit. So not surprisingly, Mason was expelled from school. His parents were beside themselves and really didn't know where to go. They were referred to LSI, and Mason joined our group at Beloit. Every single day, Mason was counseled and cared and shown love by the staff there. They worked with him on different ways of showing his emotion. You can imagine the thrill of Mason's mother when, for the very first time, she walked into Mason's room, and he didn't hit her, but he reached out his arms to her and he smiled. That was one of her biggest hopes and biggest dreams. Now, I told you to watch out for Scott at the end of the video. Scott was the one with the big grin holding the certificate. Scott had just graduated from our Beloit program. But at age 5, Scott and his siblings became part of our foster care program. You see, Scott, again at age 5, was the caretaker for his brothers and sisters. Scott, at age 5, dressed, fed, and clothed his brothers and sisters. I'll tell you, Scott was the very best parent any 5-year-old could possibly be. So Scott and his siblings went to live in the foster program with the Fitzgerald, who cared and loved him. The kids responded very well and were just ecstatic to have a forever family, someone that loved them and took care of them, something they'd never had before. But as time went on, the pain and all of the problems that Scott had faced as a young child resurfaced again, and Scott didn't know how to handle them. He started acting out in ways that were harmful to himself and to the other people in his family. So his family reached out one more time to Beloit and said, "We need your help." Scott was there for 4 months and learned different ways of handling the pain that he felt. And he was finally able to give up what he felt was his job to parent his younger siblings. He's doing much better today, as you see in that photo. He's pretty proud of himself. He says, "I know I'm better now, and I know I'm a much better person." Well, this is the point in my program when I'm supposed to stop talking, and my hope was to introduce you to Kiana. Kiana's in your bulletin as the next speaker, and I am so proud of the person that Kiana is, but unfortunately she can't be here today. I got a call from Kiana yesterday evening, and she told me that on Friday, one of her best friends was buried. He had killed himself. And what's really sad is that she said, "Deb, he killed himself in the same way that my mother killed herself." And that was that he hung himself in jail, just as her mother had done several years prior. Kiana's having a hard time handling this, and it's very difficult for her, but she assures me, she says, I'm going to be okay, and I'm making it. I'm hanging in there. Kiana, at age 3, was left alone by her mother, who was a meth addict. The years didn't get a whole lot better for Kiana, and up until age 17, Kiana was from one foster home to another, from one abuse situation to another. She was physically abused, she was raped. Kiana turned to drugs, and she turned to alcohol. The things that she told herself that she'd never do. Kiana finally ended up at our Bremwood facility. She had gone through our program and had gone through many other programs and other facilities in the past. And I asked her why LSI was different, why she felt she was succeeding this time. And she says, you know, I've been restrained by lots of facilities, and you might look at me and you might think I'm a really nice person, but she said, I didn't used to be. But there's one difference with LSI. When they restrain you, they don't put fabric around you, they put their arms around you and they give you a hug. And she said, at LSI, I know they cared, and I found a new family. Kiana has gone through our services very successfully, and at age 17, finally graduated from our programs. Kiana now lives here in Lynn County in her very own apartment. She doesn't have a mom and a dad that cook for her each morning. She doesn't have a mom and a dad that get her up and say, it's time to go to school, or it's time to go to work, or it's time to clean your apartment or your room. She does this all on her own. So I am extremely proud of all the things that Kiana is accomplishing today. I think if Kiana had one wish, she might wish that she could reunite with her family again, to have a forever family, but she knows that this may not be possible. So she has learned to rely on herself. While she was at the Bremwood campus, she went through lots of different training to prepare her to be on her own in the world. One of the things that she had to do was a point system, that she got paid for doing different things like dishes, getting to doctor's appointments on time, whatever her normal functioning chores might be, she got points for doing these on time. The flip side of that is that she also had a checkbook, and that checkbook had to pay for the services that she used every day. Sometimes it might be for electricity, well, always it was every month, the water bill, electric, her rent, and transportation. If she hadn't earned enough money in that one month, she had to decide what it was she was going to pay. If she didn't have enough money to pay the electric, she couldn't use her blow dryer. She couldn't use her computer. She couldn't use anything that plugged in. And if she didn't have enough money to pay for her water bill, she only could take a 4-minute shower. Kiana learned the very hard way that it was important to do what you needed to do to earn enough money to pay your own bills. I've since then wondered how much more money I would have today had I done that with my kids. Probably a lot. You know, we talk about putting on the whole armor of God. Our enemies may or may not be those that are standing in front of us in human form. They might be the enemies that we have inside of ourselves, the enemies that Satan puts there before us. We see our families struggling every single day and getting up and putting that armor on, which sometimes is really hard to do, and facing another day. We also see those families that don't have a clue that that armor is even out there for them. So again, I'm proud of LSI, I'm proud of Kiana, I'm proud of all the accomplishments that she has made. But in closing, if I could ask one thing today, it would be if you would keep Kiana and Mason and Scott and all of the workers at LSI in your prayers, because they could certainly use your prayers. And thank you again for your generosity and the things that you've done for LSI. Thank you from the very bottom of our heart.